Have you ever stopped to think about why the smartest people you know almost never post anything on social media? While everyone's screaming for attention, they observe in silence. While most people turn every moment into content, they simply live. And here's a truth that goes against everything you've been taught. Maybe digital silence isn't a sign of shyness or lack of social life. Maybe it's exactly the opposite. Maybe it's proof that these people understand something most haven't grasped yet, that your life doesn't need an audience to have value. I know what you're thinking, but if I don't post, I'll be forgotten. I'll fall behind. I'll miss opportunities. And look, I understand that pain. We live in a culture where existing digitally has become synonymous with existing for real, where you're measured by your followers, judged by your likes, and validated by your comments. It's exhausting, isn't it? That constant pressure to seem happy, successful, interesting, to turn even the most intimate moments into performance. And you know what's worse? You don't even notice when you started living more for the camera than for yourself. But what if I told you there's a way out? That there are people who've discovered a way to live with more depth, more peace, more authenticity, simply by choosing silence. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the psychology behind people who don't post. You'll understand why their brains work differently. And more importantly, you'll learn how this choice can free you from a prison you didn't even know you were in. Because in the end, maybe the most interesting person in the room is exactly the one nobody can find on Instagram. Ready to find out why? We live in a strange era, don't we? Everyone shares everything. Breakfast, sunsets, tears, achievements. Even that intimate moment of reflection has become content. The culture of visibility has turned our lives into a big stage where every gesture needs an audience. But while most people scream for attention, there's a group that chooses something completely different: digital silence. They're there observing, absorbing, but rarely, if ever, post. And you know what's most intriguing? These people aren't invisible by accident. They chose this. Think about it. When was the last time you did something significant without feeling that urge to share? That special dinner, that unforgettable trip, that moment of achievement. The desire to pull out your phone and record is almost automatic, right? But some people resist that reflex, not because they're shy or antisocial, but because they've decided to protect privacy as intimacy with themselves. They understand that not every genuine experience needs witnesses, that some unshared moments carry a weight, a depth that gets lost when they become live performance. These people have developed something rare: the ability to observe without interacting, to be present without needing to prove they were there. While you take 3 different photos from the same angle looking for the best light, they're living that moment completely, without thinking about captions, without calculating how many likes that will generate. They realize that digital identity construction demands too high a price. You stop living for yourself and start living for an invisible audience that's never fully satisfied. And when you understand this, something shifts. You start questioning, do I really need this external validation? Or is there another way to exist in this noisy world? Here's the point most people don't realize. Not posting isn't weakness. It's power. It's you consciously deciding what the world won't get to know about you. Because look, we live in an era where exposure has become currency. The more you show, the more relevant you seem to be. But what if true relevance was actually in the opposite? What if the self-control of keeping certain things to yourself was, in fact, a sophisticated form of self-discipline? Some people understood this. Think of someone who travels to an incredible place and posts nothing. Zero stories, zero photos with location tags. They simply live. Meanwhile, next to them, there's someone who spent half the trip worried about angles, filters, and the perfect caption. Who do you think enjoyed it more? Who really absorbed that place? The difference isn't in follower count, but in the quality of presence versus performance. One person is building real memories. The other is building highlight reels. This type of control reflects something psychologists call internal locus of control. It means your source of value doesn't come from outside, from likes, comments, others' approval. Comes from within. You don't need the whole world to validate your experience for it to be real. You know that feeling of doing something incredible and keeping it just for yourself? Tastes different, doesn't it? It's as if that thing is more yours, purer, truer. That's the essence of psychological ownership. The less you share, the more it truly belongs to you. You know what psychologists discovered? That people who don't post frequently have something in common. They score higher on traits like introspection, self-control, and emotional independence. It's not coincidence. It's because these people developed the rare ability to look inward before looking outward. They don't need external validation to know who they are or what they're worth. While most people seek approval in likes, they've already found something more solid, their own internal compass. Think with me. Have you noticed how easy it is to fall into the trap of social comparison? You're fine, calm, until you open Instagram and see someone living better than you. Suddenly that feeling of, I'm not enough hits hard. But some people simply don't enter that game. They chose to observe without interacting, protect privacy, and cultivate a silent rebellion against this culture of visibility. It's not that they're immune to emotions, quite the opposite. They just understood that constant comparison is a one-way street. These people practice what we call disconnection from the dopamine cycle. They know that each like, each comment, releases a small dose of pleasure in the brain, and that's addictive. The more you post, the more you need to post to feel that little taste of approval. But when you stop, something interesting happens. You start seeking satisfaction in real places, not digital ones. You develop congruence, that internal/external alignment where who you are inside matches who you show outside. And look at this freedom. Not needing to edit your life for it to make sense. The truth is that most posts aren't just communication. It's digital identity construction. Each photo, each caption, each story is like you're saying, look, this is how I want you to see me. Do you approve? It's an unconscious audition to belong, to be accepted, to prove your life is worth something. And there's nothing wrong with wanting connection. We're human after all. But when this becomes life performance, when you start living thinking about how it will look in the feed, something is lost. You stop experiencing to start performing. Some people left that cycle. They realized they were editing every moment before even living it. You know that dinner with friends where everyone takes photos of the food before eating? Or that party where half the people are more worried about recording stories than actually dancing? Well, some people looked at that and thought, I don't want to live like this anymore. They traded the pressure of self-presentation for the freedom of simply being present. It's not about being antisocial or superior. It's about choosing genuine experience instead of spectacle. It's preferring to feel the moment rather than document it. When you stop posting, a curious thing happens. You stop thinking in captions. You stop calculating angles. You stop asking, will this get engagement? And start asking, does this do me good? Your life stops being a script and becomes life again. That spontaneity we had before social media comes back. You laugh without thinking if it looked good. You cry without worrying if they'll judge. You exist without needing witnesses. And in this lies a freedom few experience today. Being authentic without an audience. There's a story that repeats often. People who once shared everything suddenly disappear from the networks. No warning, no dramatic farewell, just silence. What happened? Emotional fatigue. They reached a point where they realized they were no longer living for themselves. They were living for an invisible audience. Every achievement only seemed real after being posted. Every happy moment needed external validation to be considered valid. And then one random day, the tiredness hit. That kind of deep exhaustion that comes when you realize you've lost control of your own narrative. These people went through something few admit: digital burnout. It's not just about being tired of social media, it's about being tired of being an edited version of yourself. Imagine waking up every day and having to decide which part of your life deserves to be shown, which angle makes you look happier, which phrase makes you sound more interesting. It's exhausting. It's like having two jobs, living life and performing life. And when you finally stop, when you choose disconnection from the dopamine cycle, something surprising happens. You rediscover who you are without filters, without captions, without approval. You start feeling things for real again. Many people confuse this disappearance with depression or isolation. But most times it's the opposite. It's healing. It's someone saying, enough pretending everything's perfect. It's the refusal to keep producing highlight reels while real life happens backstage. They don't hate social media, they just can't find themselves in it anymore. And you know what's most interesting? After this silence, these people usually report a feeling of deep relief, as if they could finally breathe without needing to document the breathing. As if life became theirs again, and only theirs. There's a fascinating concept in psychology called psychological ownership. It's that feeling that something belongs deeply to you, a memory, a thought, an experience. But here's the detail. The moment you post it, that sense of belonging starts to dilute. The moment stops being only yours and becomes shared property, open to interpretations, judgments, even mockery. It's like you take something precious and put it in a display case for everyone to touch. And some people simply don't want that. They keep their unshared moments as untouchable treasures. Think of a personal achievement of yours. Let's say you finally managed to overcome an old fear. You can post about it and receive a flood of congratulations and hearts. Cool, right? But something changes. That victory that was only yours now has other people's comments stuck to it. Someone will compare with their own experience. Another will minimize it. Another will turn it into a joke. And suddenly that intimate moment, that achievement that made you cry alone in your room, became content, became entertainment. That's why many people choose privacy protection. They know that the more you expose, the less it truly belongs to you. These people understood that privacy as intimacy with oneself isn't loneliness. It's sacred. It's preserving the purity of certain experiences. You know that moment when you're on top of a mountain, or watching the sea, or hugging someone you love, and you don't feel any desire to grab your phone? That's pure psychological ownership. You're so immersed, so present, that sharing that with the world would almost be a betrayal to the moment. And maybe that's exactly what people who don't post are protecting. Raw authenticity, unedited, without an audience. Just them and life face to face. Now let's talk about something few people admit. Not all digital silence comes from a place of peace. Sometimes it comes from fear. Fear of judgment, of being misinterpreted, or worse, of being completely ignored. Some people don't post because the pressure of self-presentation is simply too heavy. They know that everything they say can be distorted, criticized, go viral for the wrong reasons. And there's that subtle anxiety. What if I post and nobody likes it? What if I say something and everyone ignores it? This type of silent fear paralyzes. So, it's easier to observe without interacting than to risk exposure. Psychologists call this self-presentation pressure. It's that constant feeling of being watched, even when you're not doing anything. You know, when you think 1,000 times before commenting something because you're afraid of the reaction? Or when you write a post, delete it, rewrite it, and finally give up. This isn't being picky, it's the weight of the culture of visibility. You live in a society where every word can be screenshot, every opinion can become cancellation, every mistake can be eternal. And some people look at this and think, it's not worth it. I'd rather stay quiet. It's not cowardice. It's self-preservation. But what's most ironic is that these people, the quietest ones, often have the deepest thoughts. They're not empty, they're overflowing. They just chose to keep it to themselves because they know the digital world isn't kind to vulnerability. They realize that social comparison is inevitable when you're always seeing other people's edited lives. So they choose online invisibility not out of disinterest, but out of self-protection. They want to be seen, yes, but only truly, not superficially. And as long as social media doesn't offer that, they prefer silence. Because between being misunderstood and being invisible, sometimes the second option hurts less. There's something liberating about not posting. You start discovering who really cares about you. Because think about it, when you stop feeding the feed, who stays around? Who texts you asking how you are without needing a story to remember you exist? That's the brutal difference between real versus digital connections. In the online world, people care by giving a like. In the real world, they call show up, ask. And when you choose to live more invisibly online, you naturally filter who's there for you for real and who was just liking your performance. It's almost an involuntary authenticity test. These people build their identity offline, away from algorithms and external validation. They don't need 500 followers commenting happy birthday. They have 5 friends who really matter. They don't need to post photos at fancy restaurants. They live that dinner intensely, talking, laughing, truly connecting. You know that expression quality over quantity? That's exactly it. They traded thousands of shallow interactions for a few deep connections. And here's something curious. Studies show that people with fewer online friends but stronger offline relationships report higher levels of happiness and satisfaction. It's not about how many know you. It's about how many truly understand you. Living more discreetly digitally doesn't mean being alone. It means being surrounded by what really matters. It's realizing you don't need to prove anything to anyone. It's developing an internal locus of control so strong that others' opinions become just background noise. These people discovered that unshared moments have a different weight, a more real texture. They know that depth versus spectacle isn't competition, it's choice. And they chose the first, because in the end, when your life is over, what will matter isn't the likes you received. It's the memories you kept, the people who truly hugged you, and the peace of having lived your way without needing a stage. Something magical happens when you stop performing for an audience. Life becomes lived again, not staged. It's as if someone removed a filter you didn't even know you were using. Colors seem more intense. Time slows down. You start noticing details that passed unnoticed before. The way light hits the wall in the afternoon, the sound of genuine laughter, the real taste of food without the rush to photograph it first. This is the genuine experience most forgot. It's the unedited life, without cuts, without retouches, without inspirational captions. Just you and the moment face to face with no digital mediators between you. Think of a simple situation. You're at an incredible concert. Half the people are recording on their phones, watching the artist through a 6-inch screen instead of enjoying it live. The other half, those who chose presence versus performance, are dancing, singing, feeling the music go through their bodies. Who do you think will remember this concert better? Who recorded to post later or who lived it intensely there? The difference isn't just in memory, but in the quality of existence. One person is documenting life, the other is living. And there's a chasm between these two things that we underestimate. When you leave aside digital identity construction, you can finally dedicate yourself to real identity construction. You stop thinking, how will this look? And start feeling, how does this really feel? It's liberating to realize you don't need to turn every experience into content. That a trip can just be a trip. That a special moment can remain special precisely because it stayed only with you. These people developed what we call active introspection, the ability to be so present in the now that the digital future doesn't even cross their mind. And in this, my friend, lies a richness that no number of likes can buy. Now let's get into the science behind all this. Every time you post something and get likes, comments, or shares, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in addictions. It's a vicious cycle. You post, receive external validation, feel pleasure, want more. So you post again, and again, and again. Over time, you start living based on this cycle. Your experiences become filtered by their potential to generate engagement. Will this get likes? Becomes the unconscious question before anything. It's the validation treadmill. You run, but never get anywhere. You just become more dependent. Now imagine someone who consciously decides to get off that treadmill. This person is practicing what neuroscientists call disconnection from the dopamine cycle. It's not easy. It's like quitting any addictive habit. At first, there's a strange withdrawal. You feel the urge to check notifications to see how many people saw your story, to know if that post blew up. But over time, something interesting happens. Your brain recalibrates. You stop seeking that fix of external approval and start finding satisfaction in real things. A deep conversation, a good book, a moment of silence. It's like regaining control of your own mind. It's self-discipline in its purest form. This choice reflects an extremely developed internal locus of control. It means your happiness, your self-esteem, your sense of value don't depend on external variables. Likes, comments, followers. They come from within. And look at this freedom. You no longer need strangers' approval to feel good about yourself. You don't live at the mercy of social comparison or others' edited highlight reels. You simply exist, full, whole, independent. It's like leaving a prison you didn't even know you were in. And what's most beautiful? Studies show that people who take long breaks from social media report significant increases in emotional stability and life satisfaction. Because when you stop seeking happiness on screens, it starts appearing in reality. And this, my friend, is the true silent revolution. Conclusion. So, after everything you've seen here, the question remains, what now? Will you keep living to feed the feed, or will you start living for yourself? Because look, nobody's saying you need to delete everything and become a digital hermit. But maybe it's time to try something different. How about spending an entire day without posting anything? No stories, no photos, no inspirational captions. Just you and real life without intermediaries. See what happens. Notice how you feel. Pay attention if that self-presentation pressure decreases, if moments become more intense, if you can truly be present. This could be the most liberating experience you'll have in a long time. Now, answer me something. When was the last time you did something significant and didn't feel that automatic impulse to share? When was the last time you felt happy without needing likes to confirm that happiness? If you're having trouble answering, maybe it's a sign that the dopamine cycle has captured you more than you imagine. And look, there's no shame in that, it happens to everyone. But recognizing is the first step to change. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life seeking external validation? Or do you want to build something more solid, more real, more yours? The choice is yours. But choosing consciously is already an act of courage. If this video made you rethink something, if it nudged you somehow, if it made you look at your phone with different eyes, well then mission accomplished. But don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning about psychology, human behavior, and everything nobody teaches you out there. Because this subject is just the tip of the iceberg. There's much more about how your mind works, how you make decisions, and how you can live more consciously. And look, leave a comment down below. Are you on Team Post Everything or Team Digital Silence? I want to know your story. Let's exchange ideas. Until the next video, and remember, your life doesn't need a filter to be incredible.